mean,
Yeah.
What?
Roy doesn't want to talk about the Epstein thing, and I think it's super.
Oh, I can talk about it. I just I think it's important. You know,
it's super important, and it's important to me for multiple reasons. First of all, hi.
Hey,
Hey,
how we doing?
howdy, everybody. We're trying different things out, guys.
We're trying a lot of things today. It's important on multiple facets because, first of all, it was a big part of Trump's push, and to me, he's got several things right now that are kind of knocking down both MAGA and MAHA. Mm-hmm. Like they're taking hit, they're under fire and they're taking hits.
Yeah.
So I mean, I hope that he is playing 4 or 5D chess with this whole Epstein thing. And I've got a bunch of clips about that today. But what are your thoughts, Doc?
My thoughts are that either the middle people in the FBI, before they had the two guys that are heading it now,
Bongino and Patel, before they came into the picture, they just shredded everything. And that's they only left what they wanted people to see. And the second thing is that if there is a true list of people, then you can hold that over their heads and get anything else. You know, like the Chief Justice of the Supreme Court, I know he's been down there. He was on the Roberts.
Roberts. He was on the list of people who went down there, and I think that's why Obama back in one of the times had something over him, because he was the guy who was going to, wherever he voted in the Supreme Court, he was going to be the one that made it yay or nay. And I think Obama held it over him like, we got a picture of you fucking a zebra or something.
Whoa,
Travis, do you have any gut feelings on? I don't know how close you're paying attention to.
No, I am a little bit. It could be one of a few things, I think. I think one, Doc could kind of have it like, we know, as a betting man with a lot of certainty, I would say Trump must not be on the list. Because if he was, it would have been blown up both times, each run for him. So he's not on the list. So if he's not on the list, and the only thing that can be damning, well, I guess Democrats and Republicans alike, I'm sure there's damning on both sides, but I think so that to keep it out of his power, it could have been destroyed, like you said. So he couldn't release it like he said he wanted to. Or there might be the 4D chess like you're talking about, where he's got some plan in action in his head. Or I guess 3, somebody's keeping it bottled up.
Well, I think he trusts Bongino inherently.
Yeah.
And going back to when Bongino and Patel said there wasn't any evidence, it looked like a hostage video. I said that right out of the gate. Neither one of them looked comfortable. And I don't think it's because they built this whole story up and they felt embarrassed. It wasn't like an embarrassment like, well, I've been talking about this for years and now, whoops, my bad. I mean, he didn't say that like that. Mm-hmm. The shredded everything to me is really not possible in a digital age, unless the only place the evidence was on paper somewhere and not filed. As anything that's ever been online anywhere is recreatable and findable. Elon has said that multiple times. So I don't buy it's all destroyed at all. I personally believe that Trump might be using it as like a counter blackmail. Yeah. So the CIA has been using it, and Intel has been using it against people to get them to do things. I think basically that same operation was happening during his first administration. So there were plants in there that were captive audience and were doing things to jeopardize what he was trying to do, which was fighting them without saying, I'm coming to fight you. I mean, that's effectively what he's trying to do. And I think I had one other thing I felt like was pretty important, but I don't remember what it was. Yeah, so I mean, I got a lot of clips on this today, and so I think hopefully, maybe if people are interested in the story, here's the reason why I think it's important. I said it. Trust is a big thing. We have to maintain trust. We're finding that out in the medical tyranny realm. Once you find out so many different things have been lies, you begin to question everything.
Sure.
And you can't have that. That creates chaos in society. And I don't think Trump wants chaos, but I do believe personally that the people that have been doing this forever do want chaos. I think that's the whole point of it. Secondarily, what I'll say is I don't think Epstein was anything special. And I mean that in a sense that he's not the only Epstein out there. I think there's more than one Epstein player, people running similar operations. I mean, they're not going to put all their, eggs in one basket, I don't think.
Yeah.
So I think the same kind of things are probably still going on.
Well, Justine was his main runner on that, and she is quiet as a mouse. She has never said anything.
Yeah. So how does she get put in jail for 20 years with no evidence, with no victims and no perpetrators?
Yeah.
How did she go to jail?
Yeah.
How is she not immediately acquitted?
Yeah.
I mean, I don't understand how that happens.
There must have been some evidence.
There had to be. There has to be. It can't be redacted stuff. It has to be something that people can put their eyes on and see. So, anyway, I think it's a deep story. There's actually, I'm going to give major props to Vigilant Fox today because they do such a good job at breaking down stories and showing different clips, and it makes our conversations easier, meaning I don't have to go in and recreate all these things that are already being done. So I want to give full props to Vigilant Fox. I got another clip here from OAN News.
Yeah.
The other interesting thing to me, I believe this whole thing is tied to Israel in some way. And I don't mean,
blame the Israelis.
No, I don't blame the Israelis. Israeli people are fantastic people, just like American people are fantastic people. But Israeli people have people like our CIA doing the same things that we're doing.
Yeah.
And that's where the two things collide, and there's no escaping that. I found it very interesting that Bibi Netanyahu basically was sucking up to Trump almost immediately after Bongino and Patel and Bondi are all saying there's nothing. He comes out and wants to give Trump a special surprise here. I don't know if everybody's heard this, but give it a second here.
I don't like surprises.
You might have
not
seen
in this day.
Not in this day. You might have seen it. You got my volume on.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
The letter I sent to the Nobel Prize Committee.
Oh.
It's nominating you for the Peace Prize, which is well deserved, and you should get it.
Thank you very much. This I didn't know. Wow. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Coming from you in particular, this is very meaningful. Thank you very much, Bibi.
Thank you. Thank you for everything you're doing.
Thank you. It's a great honor.
So that came out almost immediately after everything stopped. And yes, he ended the 12-day war or whatever, but I feel like it's all kind of connected. I'm not a fan of Bibi, and the more I hear about him, the less I'm a fan of him. And we'll get into some of that again today. I don't know if you have anything to say about that particular one, but did you hear about that?
Actually, I do. I had a friend when I lived in she was an immigrant from Israel, and she had been in the Israeli Air Force serving immediately under Netanyahu, and she just loved everything that he said. So she said he was the greatest commander that they ever had. This is back when he was like a colonel before he became a general and then president. So, and I trusted her.
Okay. So, I don't know how many of you or if either of you have watched the Tucker Carlson take on it. I think he does a really good job of...
So let's just assess this logically. They're covering up.
Travis is getting that. What do you need, buddy?
This thing's blinking.
Uh-oh. Battery was loose in it, maybe? Sorry, folks. We had a little bit of a technical glitch here.
I was having a seizure. Not really.
You ready for me to clip it?
So let's just assess this logically. They're covering up. The DOJ, the current DOJ under Pam Bondi is covering up crimes, very serious crimes by their own description. Why are they doing that?
Yeah.
So there are really only two potential explanations that I can think of. Maybe you've got another. The first is that Trump is involved. That Trump is on the list. That they've got tape of Trump doing something awful. I don't believe that for two reasons. One, I've talked to Trump about it a lot, and I know him. He's not that, for whatever his sins, I don't think he's that guy, actually. I don't think he likes creepy sex stuff. That's just my view. But more, I think, convincing is that this is all information that the Biden administration had. And if there was evidence that Trump had been involved in illegal sexual activity,
they would have had that
think the
everywhere.
people who made up Russiagate wouldn't have leaked it?
Right.
Come on now. So the only other explanation that I can think of, again, maybe you've got another, is that intel services are at the very center of this story, U.S. and Israeli, and they're being protected. I think that seems like the most plausible.
That's the most obvious. If you have a history of this, there have been multiple documented cases of pedophilia inside of the CIA perpetrated by CIA officers, documented that in many of those cases, I believe over a dozen cases, this was a BuzzFeed news piece years back, where the CIA specifically did not want to prosecute those individuals in federal court for fear that they would reveal sources and methods if they were pulled into open court, and they basically just made it go away. The only time they actually prosecuted somebody for child pornography was whenever he'd already being prosecuted for mishandling classified information.
Well, when they want to crush you, they put kiddie porn in your computer. It's why I don't have a computer. Don't own one.
If you're an important person, you should be careful.
No computer in my house.
This is an important thing, though, is that we already have documented cases of them covering this up. I believe the CIA Inspector General, I forget the exact quote, but he said something along the lines of, you wouldn't even believe the amount of child porn, that I've seen while I'm on this job.
What do you think, Doc?
Well, that's certainly possible. And I've noticed lately that more and more people in our area are getting arrested for child porn, for molestation, all of those things. It used to be like one every 3 months, and now we've had four or five in the last month that were arrested. So either somebody's, leaning hard on them, or people are getting caught.
Yeah, I think the digital task force is just getting more, is just getting better at what they're doing, I believe.
Yeah.
I mean, there's a lot of those out there that just fake being, a 13-year-old girl in a chat room. And
they do that all the time.
Yeah.
So out of all the players involved in this, I try to read people and their body language and what they say versus what they do. Bondi has made a couple of very significant mistakes. She's either got ahead of herself and said things she didn't know, or she knew something and had to turn around and cover up what she knew. And I got several clips here that are kind of supporting that. I want to hit on. They're pretty short ones.
There are tens of thousands of videos of Epstein with children or child porn. And there are hundreds of victims, and no one victim will ever get released. It's just the volume, and that's what they're going through. Also, to the tens of thousands of video, they turned out to be child porn downloaded by that disgusting Jeffrey Epstein.
Okay, so what I see her doing here is just saying Jeffrey Epstein bad. He was a big child pedophile porn, and that's all it was. So to me, this is just a cover story. And I just don't buy it.
Well, and you got to look at what happened to Prince Andy in Great Britain. He actually got sued in court and was found negligible in that. And the woman that he supposedly had sex with was like 17 at that time. And he completely denies the whole thing, but he's been dropped from the higher echelons of the royalty over there to be basically being nothing. His everything has been taken away from him, and he had to pay out a whole lot of money to this lady who, incidentally, took her own life a while later.
She was Epstein?
No, she was.
Or Clinton?
Yeah.
No, Clinton. I'm using it as a verb.
Yeah.
Did she do it herself is what I'm asking.
Well, who knows?
I have a guess.
Yeah.
So
Well,
Did she stab herself in the back 72 times? That's all I'm asking.
Yeah. Shoot behind their ear.
well, some of these
4
things,
times.
some of these things we laugh at. People,
It's not funny,
Anyone
but,
listening, it's tongue in cheek.
Yeah.
We're being sarcastic to prove a point. We're not being funny to prove a point, but being sarcastic. And I mean, anytime you see stuff like this, and it just so happens they kill themselves, it's usually, to me, it brings suspicion. Unless you are, in fact, I mean, my wife says this a lot. She's a criminal defense attorney. Is a lot of times people that are truly are guilty of pedophilia, or they've had incest or molested someone in their family, they do have a significant tendency of killing themselves prior to trial. Even leading up to trial, they'll be there, but they've like threatened to kill themselves, or they have attempted to kill themselves, and then more often than not, before they go in for the final thing, before they get taken into custody, they'll just kill themselves before they go.
Yeah. I had an attorney friend in the Air Force, and he said there are 3 types of people who do not thrive in prison. There's granny killers, kitty diddlers, and traitors. Almost all of them are either beat up or killed, at least in the government prison.
What was the third one you said? Traitors?
Traitors.
Okay.
Yeah.
That makes sense.
I mean, they may have murderers in there, but by God, they're not traitors to the U.S.
Well, if you murder a pedophile, I think that probably brings you up in their eyes.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. And God knows there are plenty of people in federal prison that, they're serving life without parole, and sure, they'll do it.
Right.
Give my ex-wife $250,000, and I'll have him dead before tomorrow.
Throw some money in my commissary.
Yeah.
So to me, Megyn Kelly had a good opinion of this. This is a little bit longer of a clip, but I think it's noteworthy.
Yeah.
Again, I'm not saying anyone is right. Whenever I hear things to me that sound and make sense, or someone like Megyn, to me, she's been tough on Trump a lot. She's been tough on people. She seems to be fair. If she messes up, she'll say I messed up. I think she was, I think she was kind of early in the vaccine thing, was a dissident. She might have taken it in the beginning and got injured. I don't know, but she came out swinging pretty early. But here's her take on it, and it's pretty good.
In the memo, the language that Pam Bondi used, which was no incriminating client list, that really jumped out to me, actually, because it maybe gives her a little wiggle room between saying that she had a client list and then saying there's no incriminating client list. So I wanted to ask you if maybe that's what's going on here before we get into some of these other details.
I don't know what's going on with her. I believe Dan Bongino's not lying to me. I really do. When Dan Bongino puts his name on something, I don't know Kash as well, but I know Dan. I know him well. We've worked together many, many years. He didn't just turn around and start lying. That's not who he is. He's an honest guy, and he takes this role very seriously, and I trust him. And I trust him not to actively mislead me or you. However, Pam Bondi has definitely made multiple inconsistent statements, and I'm sorry, but she does not deserve the benefit of my good opinion, and I'm not prepared to give it to her. She's, yes, on camera saying that clip that Peter Doocy was referencing, where John Roberts asked her, do you have the client list? Like, are you going to release a client list? And she said, yes. He said client list, and she said, yes, it's on my desk right now. So it was not as amorphous as Caroline, to her credit. She's trying to cover for the administration, which is her job, but they put her in a very difficult position. It's not amorphous. It's very clear. She said yes. And here's what happened. What happened was Pam Bondi said that, and then a week later, she said she was going to be releasing some very interesting documents the next day, when on Jesse Waters' show, like 6 days after that first hit, he said, hey, what client list is coming out? And she was like, it's going to be getting very interesting, and some interesting Epstein documents are coming out tomorrow. And that is when the influencers, right-wing influencers who had been very good to Trump, who amidst all the deranged media out there, were able to see through the bullshit and reported honestly and helped him a lot and did not deserve the humiliation that she heaped upon them. It was not through their own doing. She invited them there. I mean, who wouldn't go, right? It's Pam Bondi. Do you want to come meet with the head of the FBI and the vice president for an exclusive Epstein leak? Yeah, yes. Most people in media would say yes to that. So they went, and in the classic line from Animal House, you fucked up. You trusted us. That's what happened. They fucked up because they trusted her, and they were humiliated because she gave them all these binders that read Epstein files, volume 1. And there was nothing new in there. Nothing. There was no scoop. Why would she do that? And it led to, behind the scenes, like all the White House staffers, like the top people in the White House for Trump, distancing themselves from Pam Bondi immediately. Like, we don't know why she did that. And then it came out that they were urging her not to do it. But I don't know what she was up to. She wanted to have some moment where she looked like she was the one. And then she was in trouble, and she knew it. So she said, all right, that's just the first tranche. I'm really pissed off. The FBI is the one who screwed me. They said everything was in there. Okay, like you need to know. You need to know that no lawyer just sloppily calls all these PR people in and says, here are the files, without knowing what's in there. But she wants us to believe she did. Okay, so she either was clueless or she intentionally embarrassed them. I don't.
Travis or Roy, either one of you want to take a swing at that?
No.
I mean, yeah, it makes sense.
Yeah.
Like, she could be right that that's what happened.
So again, to me, this puts a stain in the Trump hat, the MAGA hat. You're going to lose some people over this, and every second of every day is getting us one step closer to the midterm elections, and even the next presidential election. Even though I know we are very early on here, I'm not suggesting that it's the beginning of the end or anything like that. But to me, there has to be something that comes of this. This can't be it. And if it goes on for a few months and we don't hear anything, then all of a sudden the hammer drops, then maybe it makes sense. Meaning if Trump has something he's working on and it was just too fast. But even at that, I don't understand the timing of it and why they made this big pomp and circumstance. They rolled her out. She had the big binder in her hand. I mean, it was intentional. So either someone set her up to fail, or she did have the goods and someone was able to influence Trump or someone else to pull it. Again, to me, this circles back around to Bibi. And I have reasons for that. There's a lot of clips that I'm not going to get to right now, but I highly recommend anyone that's interested in that story to get deeper into that themselves. Travis, I don't know if you have anything else on it, like anything else that you feel doesn't make sense or you feel is relevant, but nothing to add?
Not with this, really, no. Not at the moment.
Okay.
I did a little more, we're going to talk about some more tech-related things I might have some words on. But.
Okay. So every clip that I have is basically, I've got a clip from several different media outlets, including even a left-wing person. I'll play that one because I think that's, at least you'll get, I don't want to just be Sharon Tucker and former Fox people. This is, I think, Cuomo that's going to be on this one. Hang on one second. It's only a minute long. Here we go. Or not.
Received that binder because what she did made at the White House that day when Pam Bondi gave out those white binders. I was one of the ones who received that binder. So when you say before I'm invested in this, yeah, I am invested in this because what she did made me look like I was adding to some kind of clickbait weirdo influencer thing online, which I don't do. People that watch me know I'm very prudent. I don't engage in hot takes. And I gave her the benefit of the doubt. You give the benefit of the doubt to people on your own side. I thought, okay, I don't know why she gave us those binders if she didn't have good stuff in those binders, but she said there was another story. A whistleblower told her there were truckloads of documents. Hopefully she'll produce. And I gave her time. I was patient. I gave her the benefit of the doubt. But here's the thing, Chris. That day in the White House, Pam Bondi bragged about making that cover sheet on that binder that you're showing on the screen. That cover sheet that reads the most transparent administration in history. Epstein files phase 1. She told us she made that. She printed it. She put it in that binder. How can you square that behavior with what she posted on the Department of Justice website on Sunday saying, actually, there's nothing here?
Yeah, so to me,
they're covering something up.
She, meaning Bondi, needs to be forced to watch a clip like this and answer it directly.
Yeah.
Like instead of the media is just kind of allowing her to kind of slide out from under it. And I just, that's why I like the fact that there's several people on the right, including Tucker, including Megyn Kelly. I think this gal on the right might be kind of right leaning, but Chris Cuomo definitely is not. So again, I think she either needs to get fired. I don't know if that's the answer or not. But there's either incompetence or there's cover up. And I don't know how you get around that. All right, Roy, how about we circle back around to a follow-up story on you.
On me.
So last time we met, you had two things. DMSO was in your regimen, and also you were taking you were doing a ointment treatment of ivermectin, Ivermectin.
Yeah.
For some skin issues. Why don't you give us a report on that?
We'll go with the skin issues first. I was using them on my ears and my head because I had some precancerous things there. And they're getting smaller. I wasn't using it every day. I would probably do it every other day. And my partner's back is a whole lot better because I've been putting it on her back. As far as DMSO goes, I sprained or tore my hamstring on my right leg 9 days ago, and immediately started using DMSO on it, along with some ointments that I had, icy hot and that sort of thing. And I'm pretty much well now. I haven't gone out for a hike with my dog yet. I'm going to wait for two weeks to come on that. But I looked up, and the normal recovery time from a moderate hamstring sprain is 4 to 6 weeks. And here I am at 9 days, and I'm virtually pain-free. And I can walk and I can move around and everything else. So something must have made it better. Either I didn't tear it as bad as I thought I did, but it was excruciating. I couldn't even walk on it. I had to hop home. And it was fortunate that I was only half a mile from home. But I got there. Dog was looking at me crazy. But anyway, it's done a great deal, and I actually had a massage yesterday, and the massage lady pushed on it and moved around and everything, and it didn't hurt at all. So
well, that's good. And I'm assuming once you get back into walking, you're not going to go your full 5 miles. Will you start kind of on a shorter hike?
It depends. I've got a short route that I call the Duke of York, because I go all the way up to the top of the hill and all the way down, and that's 2 miles. So I may do one of those. But if it's not hurting me, I could go ahead and go 5 miles.
Well, I ended up ordering the same DMSO that you have, and I'm looking into doing some research, and I've talked to you before we started shooting about doing some biohacking on my tinnitus.
Tinnitus.
I called it tinnitus in front of my wife. She's like, "It's tinnitus." I'm like, "No, it's not.
It's itis is the Latin for pain, and tinnitus is not painful, so it's not tinnitus, it's tinnitus. So whoever that was that told you that it was tinnitus.
Be careful. Yeah. It was my wife.
I know.
Don't step in it.
She ought to stick to being a lawyer, and I'll stick to being a doctor.
There you go. Well, I corrected her, and I said if she had a problem with it, she could talk to you about it.
Yeah,
she didn't come to you, so that's good. So hopefully I can get that formulated and start testing it. I don't expect for it to be an overnight thing. I thought I had another follow up there. I've been following the tinnitus thing.
The good thing about tinnitus for me right now, and I have it pretty much, is that all the cicadas are out, and that's what my tinnitus sounds like. So it's just no big deal. It doesn't bother me because all the cicadas are out now, and if you go out at night, you can hear them everywhere, and it doesn't bother me that much. It never has bothered me that much. It's just annoying. It hasn't, brought down my hearing capacity or anything else.
In a kind of unrelated story, you sent me I guess there's a case of Giardia.
Yeah, Giardia.
So why don't you?
It's over in Henderson County, which is right across the river from Evansville, and there are a number of people who have gotten Giardia. Giardia is a one-celled parasite that once it gets into your body, usually through bad water, by drinking it or food that has been contaminated with it, it causes chronic diarrhea. And you can diagnose it very easily by looking at the diarrhea, and you see the little Giardias looking back at you. And the thing about that is that I said is that not every parasite can be fixed with ivermectin and fenbendazole. This is one that is not fixable with either one of those. But there is a prescription drug that works really well, and within 7 days it'll get rid of it, and that's metronidazole.
So those of you who are paying attention to what we're talking about, we're talking about ivermectin, durmectin, and fenbendazole and all those things a lot. To me, I just assumed because Giardia was a parasite that it would something in the ivermectin family or whatever would be used to treat it, because it is an anti-parasitic. It's used to treat different things, but
worms mainly,
but not this one. So I just wanted to clarify that away. If if you're concerned about Giardia, or if you end up coming down with it, don't self-medicate with ivermectin or anything like that. It's a different thing. Talk to your doctor.
Yeah, it's not going to work. Talk to your doctor and get some metronidazole, and it'll go away. The only side effect of metronidazole is that if you drink alcohol while you're taking it, it will make you deathly sick. Not deathly in the hospital sick, you just throw up all the time. So just be careful about that.
Sure.
Don't wash it down with your Bud Light.
All right, so I'm going to circle back around and talk about DMSO just for another minute. So dimethyl sulfoxide is what it is, and it's kind of interesting that you and I got into the methylene blue, and that's a dye that is used for manufacturing, and it was also called the magic bullet a long time ago. But
before we had antibiotics back in the 1920s and 30s, we discovered that, not me, but the doctors back then discovered that methylene blue would kill bacteria in the urinary system. So they used it to treat urinary tract infections, and it was very good for that. Fast forward to about 10 years ago, and we discovered that methylene blue also is it will work on your mitochondria and your cells so that they put out more energy. Your mitochondria and your cells are the little engines that produce energy, and the energy is in the form of things that your body can take and use for more energy.
And doesn't methylene blue help to remove the bad cells or the dying cells? It kind of clears them up.
Yeah,
it gets rid of them, but it doesn't do anything to the.
It doesn't kill any cells. It just, the bad cells it'll knock out. The ones that are dying are the ones that are whatever. But it's, we've, all three of us here in the room have started taking methylene blue.
I think Travis stopped.
You stopped?
I did. I was having some kidney pain. I don't know that it was due to the methylene blue, but
I'm kind of not one way or the other on that, but at least Chad and I are taking it, and a lot of my patients are taking it, and they feel better.
Yeah, are you taking the gel tabs now?
No.
You're taking the liquid still?
Taking the liquid.
Okay.
I put it in my coffee every morning.
I'm trying a few different ones. I'm trying a pharmaceutical grade in the capsule side.
Yeah, I've got some capsules, and I usually take those when I'm traveling so that I don't have to lug along the little dropper.
Well, so the interesting thing about methylene blue is, again, it was something that's not considered a medicine turned into a medicine. And DMSO is an aprotic solvent derived by the byproduct from wood pulp during paper production.
Right.
And it was first synthesized back in 1866 by a Russian chemist. Its medical potential emerged, I'm reading from Grok here, just asked it a quick question. Its medical potential emerged in the 1960s when researchers, including Stanley Jacob, noted its ability to penetrate biological membranes and act as a carrier for other substances alongside anti-inflammatory, antioxidant properties.
Yep.
Since then, DMSO has been explored for various conditions, including tinnitus, though its use remains controversial due to limited research and regulatory restrictions. So before I say any more on this, obviously do your own research. I'm not a doctor. Dr. Roy is a doctor. He is taking DMSO for his own reasons in treatments. I think he's probably going to apply it more widely to other things if those things pop up, and probably try those things. I myself am going to use it, try to use it for tinnitus. And
for those of you who don't know what that is, that's ear ringing in your ears,
Yes.
and it's constant.
Yeah, and Travis has kind of a different version of tinnitus than I do, and Dr. Roy has something different than both of us have.
Right.
So it's kind of an interesting thing. But what I will say, so it says limited. It sounds like, there wasn't a lot of research done on it. And sometimes you would think, well, there must have been something wrong with it. To me, I'm kind of the sense that it was too good on too many things, so pharmaceutical companies, and it was too cheap. So pharmaceutical didn't want it used, so they just downplayed it.
The reason that it was taken off the market was in some of the rat testing, the lenses in their eyes became such that they couldn't see. Now, I don't have to worry about that because I have prosthetic lenses in both of my eyes. But nevertheless, it was a big deal back in the 1960s. I can remember hearing people talk speeches about that back in 1965. And at that time, it was still saying that it was a wonder drug for everything. It will dissolve other things and enter it through the skin, if you will. And what I'm using is Icy Hot, which you can get over the counter, and it has lidocaine in it and a lot of other things. And I mix that with the DMSO and apply it to my skin, and it gets in there, and the pain goes away pretty quick.
Well, in the research that I've been doing on it, all I'll say out of the gate is I believe much more research can and should be done. However, I don't know who's going to pay for that because pharmaceutical companies aren't. So we call a lot of things, Dr. Roy, anecdotal evidence, meaning it's not a case study. It's not something that was done in a lab or whatever. But there's some interesting information here coming down the pipeline. And now that I've started researching, stuff is popping up, like different people coming in saying this is what happened to me. But let me just give a quick run through of a couple different studies. So in 1975, a study by A. Caro published in the Annals of
Annals,
Annals.
not
Annals.
It can be annals. It can be annals too. Annals of
annals of what?
Annals of New York Academy of Sciences. The study involved only 15 patients with subjective non-vibratory tinnitus of unknown origin. The treatment protocol included local application of 2 milliliters medicated DMSO spray containing anti-inflammatory and vasodilatory substances in the external auditory canal for 4 days for a month. Every 4 days for a month.
Yeah.
Daily intermuscular injections of preparation containing DMSO and vasodilatory component. And here's what I'll say before I tell you the results. What I've heard is there's no cure for tinnitus.
Yeah.
There's really nothing. You just got to suck it up. But so that's the reason why it comes down to something like this, and I'm doing my own research. So the results for these people, tinnitus completely disappeared in 9 of the 15 patients with no recurrence during a 1-year follow-up. Symptoms diminished in 2 of the patients. In 4 patients, permanent tinnitus became occasional, triggered mainly by environmental cold. Additional benefits included improved vertigo in 5 patients and altered high-frequency hearing in 6 patients, suggested improved microcirculation or metabolic function in the auditory system.
Yep.
This study suggested that DMSO, likely due to its ability to enhance drug delivery and its anti-inflammatory properties, could improve tinnitus by addressing underlying metabolic and circulatory dysfunctions. So to me, that's pretty significant because you're told you can't do anything about it.
Yeah.
And then 9 of 15 people, it was gone and there was no recurrence. So to me, that's pretty significant.
It is significant.
It's low numbers. But
it's very low numbers.
High percentages.
What you have to think is, are these the only 9 people who thought that they were going to get better? And then if you do it on 1,000 people, it could end up being, 10 out of 1,000 that are made better. There's also the placebo effect, is that when you're dealing with a drug and you've got some people who are taking the drug and some people who are taking a placebo, a lot of the placebo people feel better anyway. And about a third of them do. So it could be the placebo effect on that.
Well, I don't know. I don't know how that would work with tinnitus. I'd have a hard time believing my ear ringing would go away just because I thought I took some medicine. But
yeah,
maybe I'm wrong. I mean, I know, like if my leg hurts,
sprayer and spray it in there. I gave the recipe for that.
So the thing you mentioned about it being taken off the shelf, this article did capture that. Not an article. It's one quick thing I asked Grok. So in 1965, the FDA halted DMSO's human use after animal studies showed potential lens toxicity, later disproven in humans. Although approval in the 1970s for interstitial cystitis. It's got a lot of words here I'm having to deal with. And its broader medical use remains restricted, limiting research info into tinnitus.
However, the reason that you can get it anyway, you can order it from Amazon, you can order it from Chewy, is that it's widely used on animals. So if you've got a $100,000 horse that is limping because it injured itself, and you put DMSO on it, and within 10 days or so, he's ready to go out and run the Kentucky Derby.
Wow.
So that's why it's available.
And I would say athletes and personal and athletic trainers and whatever.
Guarantee they're doing that.
Yeah.
I guarantee you they are.
So just if you're wanting to follow, if you have tinnitus yourself, obviously you can reach out to me or Dr. Roy. We'll give you kind of results of what we find. I'm going to stay in Doc's ear on this one, no pun intended. But you can also, another thing from this Grok research, if you want to follow Pierre Corey on Twitter and or Vigilant Fox, they claim DMSO has showed miraculous, in quotes, results for tinnitus since the 1960s, but has been suppressed by the FDA, though these claims are speculative and not supported by peer-reviewed evidence beyond the 1975 study. So to me, again, it's just a little strange that it just stopped.
Oh, sure.
And they haven't done any more studies.
Well, there are stories of guys who develop something that's a cure for cancer, and then all of a sudden they're either murdered, killed themselves, or
had an accident.
Yeah, had an
car
accident.
that runs on water or something.
And they're not around anymore because the whole pharmaceutical company is to sell more product. And if you've got a short thing that will
I don't have a short
You got a short thing.
I don't have a short thing.
No, yeah. Come on. Shut up, you guys.
You said it. You said it.
Crying out loud.
You said it.
I've seen more dicks than any of you guys.
I don't know. I don't know if
got worse.
I don't
I'm
know
a
if I'd
doctor.
cop up to that.
This got
or not.
worse.
So I want to interject a little bit on what you were saying about kind of the pharmaceutical company and how they suppress things, which I get that because they want to make money on the other things. But since we've been told that there's no cure for it, what would it be interrupting in big pharma if they were to start using, like if
Who are you asking this question to?
either one of you guys, because there's really not, there's nothing for me to buy. I don't buy anything.
You want me
Yeah.
to? I can answer.
Okay,
What
yeah,
I think,
what
and
do
then
you
Dr.
think?
Roy can say what he thinks.
Sure.
Similar to ivermectin.
Yeah.
Ivermectin solves.
But there are other drugs that ivermectin is taking the place of.
Ivermectin solves a lot of problems that pharmaceutical companies sell specific products to sell.
Yeah.
It's much cheaper, it's generic, and it can be layered over and decrease profits in a lot of areas. To me, this is another one of those, because remember we talked about DMSO last week, and it was.
I guess it's more for just the ears.
It wasn't specific to tinnitus. It was a bunch of different other things.
Yeah.
I've only narrowed down to tinnitus because that's what I'm focusing on.
Right.
He's used it for his muscle. So who's that going to harm in pain medications? Yeah, so I think it does.
Oh, yeah, that would harm a lot of things. I'm just talking, I guess in my mind, I was just thinking about just the hearing, just the tinnitus issue, and there's nothing out there for me to buy now to try to fix it.
I think tinnitus is just caught in the
crosshairs.
Yeah, it's just caught in the crosshairs.
Yeah.
What do you think on that? What would be the reason to not use it for tinnitus in some kind of a spray?
Most people who have tinnitus just have to go along and live with it.
Mm-hmm.
So there's nothing that's been put out for tinnitus that I'm aware of. I could be wrong on that one. Hear that?
There's some.
I said I could be wrong.
I've talked to my doctor about it. There's apparently
I'll let you borrow my shirt.
I was wrong. Yeah.
There's apparently like some different types of vitamin packs and things you can try to take that are supposed to help with tinnitus. But my doctor, when I talked about it, she's like, you can take them. I haven't heard a lot of actual help, but they won't hurt you. She's like, they won't hurt you, but
I'm real hesitant to follow
DMSO won't hurt you either, because even if it was disproven that the blocking of the eye lenses was a problem, I don't have to worry. I've got prosthetic lenses in my eyes,
but I don't.
So. But you could get them if for a mere $18,000.
Oh, that's it. Oh, hell, give me 2 of them.
Wow.
Yeah,
that's a great deal. Well, I guess it's a great deal if it helps you see. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, yeah. That's
all right. So just to kind of wrap up the DMSO piece, Dr. Roy has used it. His anecdotal evidence was he believed it helped him in fixing his hamstring issue, his injury to his muscle. And I will report back as soon as I have something to report on whether it's helping my tinnitus.
Yeah.
Do you know what the concoction is supposed to? Is it how do you get it in there?
With the spray bottle.
Well, I get that, but is it very liquid? Is it a super thin liquid? I've never actually seen it.
No, it's kind of greasy. It's not like lard or anything, but if you get some on a table next to a drop of water, the DMSO is a lot, greasier than that.
Kind of like a maybe sunblock or something, like a spray sunblock, maybe like kind of that consistency,
like
not the same, but that. Okay, yeah,
yeah,
yeah. So
because I always spill some when I'm putting it on, and it sits there. It doesn't like go away like water
evaporate.
would.
Yeah.
And I'm not suggesting anyone try any of this at home. I'm going to do it. I'm treating myself as a guinea pig with the supervision of Dr. Roy. But what I think we talked about it before we got on air, that Dr. Roy suggested that I dilute the DMSO because it comes in a pure concentrate, whatever,
Yeah,
but it can
99% when you purchase it.
And it can be with people with sensitive skin. It can cause some issues.
Yes.
He's told me to dilute it at least 50% with distilled boiled water. So sterile water, I guess, is what I should say.
Yeah.
So I'm going to do that. Again, don't try it at home. If you want to talk about it, reach out to me, and Dr. Roy.
Yeah, you can put any anti-inflammatory with it. The one that I suggest is curcumin, and just a tiny bit in there, enough to turn it orange, and that's all.
Do your own research. Dr. Roy is not telling you to do this for tinnitus right now, but I am going to do it at my own behest and with his supervision. And I'll be a trial of one, so it'll be purely anecdotal evidence.
If it works on you, I'll be a trial of two.
Yeah,
well, I might even try it. Do you have it in both your ears? Maybe just do one ear.
I can't
just
tell.
to see.
Can you tell it's in? But how do you tell?
I had a hearing test.
Oh yeah.
So I went to an audiologist, and yeah, exactly.
They can't.
It's my left.
They can't hear it.
No, but they can test the frequencies, and when she matched frequency in my ear, I said okay, a little higher, right there. There's my tinnitus.
Yeah,
and she did it in both ears, and it was only
registered
when it was
one.
Isolated. It was my left ear only.
Interesting.
Yeah.
So maybe you had damage in one of your ears from something, an explosion.
Somebody elbowed you in high school.
Well, I'm wondering. I've been a drummer for a long time, and in my left ear, I use in-ear monitors now, but for a while I didn't. And my left ear is the hi hat, and also a lot of times the monitor was over there where it was playing what the rest of the band was playing at me, and it had to be playing louder than the rest of my drum set. But also that hi hat being right there, I wonder if that didn't maybe do something over the years, but. I've lost about 30% in my left and only about 5% in my right. So
yeah, mine I've lost no hearing whatsoever. I've just got the continuous tinnitus, and it sounds like cicadas. So it's pretty nice when the cicadas are out because it doesn't bother me anymore.
So I think she considered my tinnitus hearing loss because I can't hear over my I bet you do technically have hearing loss wherever your tinnitus frequency is because you can't hear anything but your tinnitus there.
Right.
That's how she.
And what I think my symptom is, like if I don't know my wife's getting ready to say something to me or someone says something to me and I'm not paying attention, I think the noise doesn't pick up that their first few words or whatever. I have to like register and listen.
You sure it's not just because it was your wife?
Yeah, well, no, I mean it happens with other people.
That frequency. Oh, okay.
It happens with other people too. So,
well, there's.
I do have Schmidt in my ears. That is my last name, so I've heard that one for a long time.
Watch that Schmidt out of there.
Yours was probably all the shooting that you've done.
I've done a lot of shooting. I had very, very loud music in my car when I was young. I've abused my racetracks when I was young enough not to walk. I mean, I have abused my ears.
Mine was all jet engines.
Yeah, no,
yeah.
They didn't give you sufficient.
Oh no, I had significant coverage of my ears, but still, you could hear them.
Yeah, there you go. We're going to pivot just a little bit with some real quick good news.
Pivot.
A couple people in this podcast have talked about some new toy equipment that we get. We are big fans of the Second Amendment in this podcast.
2A all the way.
And I'm going to share this real quick clip.
But I'll tell you one thing about it. One thing nobody's talking about. For 91 years, there's been a $200 tax for guns that have a barrel under 16 inches and for suppressors.
No more.
And the fact that this bill got through the House and the Senate, removing that tax down to zero, something that no one's been able to do in 100 years for red-blooded Americans that believe in the Second Amendment, it was a huge win.
Huge. Woo! Bigly. Now, I want to put a little clip note in there that, yes, the tax is gone. The $200 is gone. You still have to register whatever that item would be that would have cost you the tax stamp. So if you have a silencer, if you go buy a silencer to be within the legal bounds of the law, you still have to register that silencer, but you no longer have to pay that $200 tax stamp.
So there's
mine all fell out of a boat in Lake Erie.
My entire gun cabinet. I don't know. I don't remember why I had it on my boat, but the damn thing just fell right off. It's in the middle of the river somewhere.
Yeah,
but yeah, so there's talks now that that income is gone, Now that they're no longer getting that $200 from every item, an NFA item, then they're very likely to no longer require you to register it because there will be no funds coming in for people to handle the registry. Yeah. So the talk is that maybe the registry will also go away in the near future, hopefully.
Yeah. All right, so we're
yay, cheers.
Yay.
No more tax stamp. Still
Yay, yay for the big, beautiful bill, at least on that one. I got a lot of things
it's big.
I will attack later on down the road, not today. Another quick pivot around. I don't think we talked much about ivermectin last week, so I am paying attention to the Dr. William Macus, MD, if you follow him on Twitter. I just mentioned him a second ago that I think he's talking about, no, that's Pierre Corey that was talking about tinnitus, but William Macus has I believe the biggest cancer ivermectin clinic in the U.S., maybe in the world. It might be in Canada.
Canadian.
He's in Canada. Okay.
Yeah.
So there was a new article he dropped on Twitter, ivermectin and menbendazole testimonial. A 63-year-old Canadian woman with stage 3 breast cancer after 4 months, 91% reduction of breast mass, 100% elimination of large axillary lymph nodes up to 3.6 centimeters. He says, we've had so much success with breast cancer. The regimen that he says here, I know there's always people that are asking, like, I don't know what to take and whatever, and I'm not telling you to take it. Follow a doctor. Dr. William Macus actually does treat actual patients. I've asked for an update on someone local here in the Evansville area that has been on this treatment, and I have not heard back from them yet, but I will. So the regimen that he prescribed and that worked was ivermectin, 1.5 milligrams per day per kilogram of body weight.
That's a lot of ivermectin. Yep. If you get that, that's a whole lot more than you'd take for COVID.
Yeah, so this is for cancer specifically. They started that treatment December 2024 and have taken it onwards. So that means they're taking it now. They took fenbendazole, 900 milligrams per day from October 27th to 2024 until February 28th of 2025. So that means they stopped that one. And then they are taking menbendazole, which it looked like they dropped fenbendazole, picked up menbendazole from March 1st, 2025 of this year onwards. So they're continuing to take ivermectin and menbendazole on a regular basis. Again, Dr. Roy is not a cancer doctor.
Yeah.
So this is kind of outside of his area of expertise or anything he would probably recommend anyone, except for I think you've been pretty impressed just with the amount of information that's coming out about the
and obviously I can't measure the amount of it getting better, but I can certainly prescribe the drugs.
Yeah, and so I guess sorry, I got a dog barking in the background.
Yeah,
I think my wife got home. She's been gone for a few days. So here's the turn on it. So in Canada, especially, their doctors are very specific, and they're all bad mouthing ivermectin all around. Mm-hmm. So the Canadian oncologist of this patient basically was bad mouthing and told her not to take it, and then he wasn't going to wasn't going to have her as a patient anymore. He, in quotes, he informed me that taking ivermectin would make the chemotherapy ineffective, and if I had a reaction, I could end up in ICU. So that's a Canadian doctor that tried to talk her out of taking ivermectin, and thankfully she did not stop that. So anyway, that was a little bit of good news.
There's a British guy who talked about having like 40 patients that were taking ivermectin and fenbendazole, and it was mainly with lung cancer at that point, which is a killer. And they've stopped it. They're still taking the medicine, but if I was taking that medicine and my cancer went away, I don't think I'd stop taking that medicine.
No, if it's not doing you any harm.
Yeah.
I would do it for a fairly solid amount of time until it, maybe if you plateaued and you felt like you weren't getting a little, even micro better over time, maybe stop for a while. But I'd do that under doctor supervision, somebody with an open mind. But yeah, I mean, I just think there's so much great news coming out, and I know the people in the cancer business are probably
shaking in their boots.
Shaking in their boots, yeah. And we don't wish any ill on any of the doctors that have trained and have followed what they were taught. But I think they've been taught the wrong things for a long period of time. Hopefully we can.
Yeah.
You mean taught to keep them alive?
Keep
but
them alive.
not cured.
Not cured. That's kind of.
I actually had an oncologist tell me the deal with oncology is you keep them alive and keep the money coming in, and it's better not for them to die because they won't be paying you anymore.
That's right.
I didn't like that guy.
I don't think I liked him very much either. It seems like we're bouncing a little bit all over the place today, but there's a lot of things that have popped up that I feel are worth talking about, and we're kind of changing the format of the podcast. So if you're watching this program and you see any of our clips showing up on Facebook or on Twitter, please be sure to like, share, comment in those. You'll help us get found even more. And I only share these things to me because they are relevant, and maybe, I don't know, maybe someone else might find this not to be as big of a story, but I really find this is important to celebrate the little wins that we get along the way here in the Trump administration. And I'm just going to share this clip without talking about it, and we can talk about it after.
All right.
Today, we are taking this purpose and our American farmland back. American agriculture is not just about feeding our families, but about protecting our nation and standing up to foreign adversaries who are buying our farmland, stealing our research, and creating dangerous vulnerabilities in the very systems that sustain us. Reshoring and nearshoring our food and agriculture supply chain is essential for our nation's security. In coordination with the White House, the Departments of Treasury, Defense, Homeland Security, and Justice, as well as state governors, state agriculture commissioners, local, tribal, and territorial governments, today we announced the USDA's National Farm Security Action Plan. This plan includes 7 key action items, and there's a lot of people here that I want you to hear from, so I'm not going to go one by one, but just very quickly. It's on our website. The press has gotten a preview of it, and we can ask some questions once we finish the main program. But very quickly, and perhaps the most important, the first of the 7, is securing and protecting American farmland ownership. Actively engaging at every level of government to take swift legislative and executive action to ban the purchase of American farmland by Chinese nationals and other foreign adversaries. Standing on the shoulders of great governors, 3 of whom are standing behind me, who have already been leading the way on this issue. And at the federal government level, working to do everything within our ability, including presidential authorities, to claw back what has already been purchased by China and other foreign adversaries. Additionally, working with the Treasury of the Secretary of the Treasury, along with our Defense Department, on memorandums to ensure that moving forward, there is a much more intentional look at who is buying what in this country and from where they are in the world.
That's the Secretary of Agriculture, by the way.
Yes. So my initial gut, and I want your guys' feedback, is, I don't think China should own land in America, period. We can't own land in China. Yep. And I don't think they should own land here. I think we've done several podcasts in the past that showed where they were buying property, and a lot of them were located near military bases.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So I think there's a real problem there. If you have a farm operation and you can have new weapon technology or drone technology, unless you're monitoring those people all the time, how do you know that there's not some kind of strategic thing to take over a base or to be close for attacking something on short notice?
Yeah, as I'll tell you an anecdote on this. There's a large military base in Bossier City, Louisiana. It's in the northern part of the state, and I was up there one time, and I noticed that there were a great number of Chinese people selling flowers right off the end of the runway. It was on a highway. They were able to sit on the side of the highway and sell flowers. But I also noted that every time a plane took off, somebody was writing something down, whether it was the tail numbers or anything else. And the aircraft that were there were B-52s. It is one of only 2 B-52 bases in the entire country, and they were selling flowers, but they also had a guy sitting there writing things down as it went along. And I reported it, and the base commander just shrugged his shoulders and said, "We can't do anything about it. They're on private property."
Well, now,
and that was 35 or 40 years ago when I was still in the Air Force.
Well, now think about the camera systems and the tracking stuff that they have now. It's so much more advanced.
I'm gonna be the pushback here, just a little bit. I like it because I bleed red, white, and blue.
Are you Chinese?
I'm a true patriot. No, I am not. But I can see a lot of gray area with this, because it just depends on how well you try to vet. Like, are we just not going to allow anybody that's of Chinese,
multinational corporation should not buy American property?
Okay, but I think a lot of what you're talking about is privately owned with ties to China, possibly, or how deep are we going to go here?
They buy the land, and the farmer obviously wants to sell it. He's getting old. He wants to retire. So they buy the land, and they may lease it out for farm use, but the owners are shell corporations that you really, really have to follow, because they go to Panama, and then they go back to Delaware and a lot of other places. But if you really get to the bottom of them, there's a Chinese company in there somewhere.
I guess my thing is just what will the vetting process be? Like, are we just going back to World War II times and somebody that's Japanese can't buy anything? Like, is it going to be that somebody that's Chinese now? Like, I mean, that would be my only pushback to that is I'd hate to see even a U.S. citizen that's of Chinese descent that may still speak Chinese. Maybe they haven't, they're that much of a Chinaman, that, are they now not going to be able to buy land?
Well, first and foremost, you sprinkled a lot of things in there. I would go back to the founders who suggested, if you live in America, you need to adopt American. America is your country. You need to speak English first and foremost. So if you're just here speaking Chinese, to me, you're not assimilating into society. So what are you actually doing? What are you here for, right? So that's question one. The second part of it is, if there's right now, it didn't seem like there was any limitation. So what would stop multinational corporations, our enemies, having a plan to buy more and more and more and more land all around us, basically make it either unaffordable or give us the inability to not purchase land ourselves. Like, you want to go out and start a small farm, but a multinational corporation has bought up all the farmland in 2 counties surrounding us. That is directly stopping us from purchasing the land that we would like to purchase,
and not growing crops on those. Sometimes they grow crops, sometimes it's fallow out there. So they're trying to force us into starvation.
Well, and I would take you one step further. It's a good point, Dr.
I'm not necessarily talking about corporations, by the way. I'm talking about...
Well, if you're a Chinese citizen, China owns everything that you own.
Yeah.
No, I'm saying I'm saying a U.S. citizen who's of Chinese descent or who's from China.
No, I got several good friends that are Chinese. I'm not suggesting they can't buy farmland.
I would say get that you're not suggesting that. I'm saying this that she just talked about. How far is it going to go?
Are they making frequent trips to China?
Well, I don't know. They might have family there.
Do they have relationships with Chinese government? These are things that we would all know.
Well, so I mean, are they going to know
about us?
Surveilled then?
You're being surveilled.
Well, no, oh, that's true. But
so why is a Chinese person have like why could we not surveil them when we are surveilled ourselves?
You're just not.
Well, and you know there are probably.
I'm hearing what you're saying, and I don't disagree with your pushback because you want this to be the land of the free, the home of the brave. This is the land of prosperity. Come buy land and do what everybody else does. I see what you're saying.
I'm curious how difficult it will be for them. Is all I'm saying.
It will be very difficult, I think, because. You've got to make sure that it's not some shell corporation that looks like, Good Old Boys Inc. And it turns out that they're really owned by.
So let's say someone from China becomes a citizen of the United States, and they happen to be really, really wealthy. Would it be relevant to find out how they became really, really wealthy?
Yes. But all I'm saying is,
because
if you're really, really wealthy, do we need to trace how you got? You're really wealthy.
You do that every year with IRS,
well, you do, yeah, I know. But I'm just saying, like, who's you? Like the bank's not going to ask, like, or wherever. Whoever's selling you the land isn't going to ask you that.
Every paycheck I've ever earned has been tracked, and I've paid taxes on it.
Yeah. I'm saying, let's say I own 500 acres of farmland. Let's say I own 500 acres of farmland, and you want to buy it from me.
Am I American or China? Am I Chinese?
Regardless of who it is, who's going to like?
Am I borrowing money from a bank?
I would think the Department of. I think the Department.
Well,
of
there's a lot of questions. It's not just
if I'm selling you land, how does the government step in?
You got to pay taxes when you buy something or when you sell something.
Okay, well, that's true, but I mean this vetting process you're talking about. How are they going to do the vetting?
Are they Are they going through a bank to
not if they're really wealthy. You just said they're really wealthy. They're paying cash.
Okay. So then I think it's relevant to know where that money came from.
But who would know to even look into it?
The Department of Agriculture.
Anytime you sell property.
That's who that was. That was the Secretary of Agriculture.
I understand that.
And she's got the Department of Defense, the Department of Treasury.
So if I went and bought 20 acres of farmland, she's going to know?
Probably.
I guess if it gets,
do you think you can own 20 acres in the middle of nowhere and nobody knows you own it?
Well, no, but nobody's going to know that I own it until after I own it.
How does a deed get transferred from A to B? That's
what I'm saying. The deed transfer is going to happen. It's going to get recorded. Then somebody's going to know it, but I own it at that point. I've already paid for it. I own it, right?
Yeah, and they're clawing that back.
But attorneys are involved in any land transition and land purchase.
I didn't have an attorney involved when I bought land.
Really?
Mm-hmm. I had a close. I mean, there was a closer, a title company, but there was no attorney.
Let me tell you, most title companies in this state are either employ or are run by attorneys.
I mean, they might have had an attorney on the books. They might have had an attorney on the books, but there was no attorney in any of my process.
First of all, I love your pushback, and there's not contentious. I'm not. I hope you sound a little frustrated. I just feel like there's no other place in the world I think that we can go and just go buy land without having a vetting process in any other country. And just like the border, a lot of people in our country want an open border coming this way, even though there's no other country out there that just allows us to pour in there and sit and stand. So I agree
with that.
And I understand the argument that, well, we are the we are the takers.
We're a melting pot. Yeah.
We are a melting pot. I get all that, but we're a melting pot with rules.
Sure.
And we're a melting pot with.
I'm not saying not to have rules. I'm saying is this going to make it a lot more difficult for somebody
Chinese nationalist or a multinational corporation? Yes, absolutely.
Yeah.
A U.S. citizen who's Chinese, who's just wanting to buy some damn land.
That he is under suspicion. I can guarantee you that.
Well, I would say
that's all I'm asking. That's all. That's the point I'm trying to put is that I'm Chinese. No, I'm not really, but let's say I'm Chinese and I'm a U.S. citizen. Yeah. How now is it going to be much more difficult for me to buy land?
I would say coming here as a Chinese citizen, or any other citizen of another country, you should expect to have a higher level of people looking at you and vetting you. That's just part of the process of having a safe and secure. And I'm not talking about spying on you. Like, I don't like the Patriot Act. I don't want them following all your transactions and all your conversations. I don't want any of that.
Right.
So that's where you and I will come right back together and whatever. But to me, again, with the strategic purchasing of what we've seen, a pattern, they're buying big chunks of property in and around military bases. That just in the Department of Homeland Security, that's got to put some red flags out there to say.
I totally get all that. I totally agree with all that. I'm saying that somebody who wants to go get 100 acres in Iowa, who has nothing to do with a U.S. air base, is this still going to cause problems for them to try to buy this?
Yes.
It may cause more problems for us.
Yeah.
Like the hurdles for me to buy land as a non-Chinese citizen may be harder because now we're going through these more steps that everyone will have to do. It'll be blank, similar to airports. You know, we started with Department of Homeland Security. Everyone has to get checks. Their bags get, you get the whole search and caboodle.
Right.
We didn't do that before. And we started doing it mainly because some terrorists flew some planes into buildings. So they changed the entire system to where no one person is pulled out specifically, even though I guess
if they make a blanket system, then there would be less pushback. I'm giving pushback on what the pushback will be. I'm being that person. I'm not really giving that much pushback personally. I'm just saying, but okay, so then you bring up a good one. If now everybody has to go through the same vetting process,
I don't like it.
Then that makes more sense though. Because then,
I don't like it, but if I go to China and try to buy ground,
then at what percent of descent do you have to be for you have to go through it? If not everybody goes through it, like let's say I'm the son of a Chinese and Caucasian parents, so now I'm 50%. So now how questionable is it going to be that I'm buying land? Like, you see what I'm saying? Like,
I think it ought to be questionable for everybody buying land to make sure that they don't have a shell corporation or 4 levels of shell corporations that tie back to China.
Yeah. So I would get down with that if everybody did. I would say everybody else could get somewhat behind that. I'm just saying I think we would be getting in a sticky situation if we just required, if you're over 51% of this ethnicity, then you have to, or of this origin, then you're going to have to jump through this hoop.
Throw it right back at you, though. If I decided I didn't want to be an American citizen anymore and some other country would have me, and I went through the process to become a legal citizen, which is going to take some time, I think I would fully expect for them to vet me, no matter where I was, about coming in and buying strategic.
Yeah, but I'm not talking about any other country. I'm talking about the United States. So it's a totally different thing because there's a lot of people in this country who will try to say that you're being racist because you're Caucasian and you're okay with you don't have to jump through the hoop, but everybody else has to jump through the hoop.
Well, but I mean, they could also argue that America finds itself, the police state, in at war with a lot of other countries where it's none of our business, which I would agree with. But at the same time, there are countries that don't like us very much.
Oh yeah,
and China is one of them. So let's put it to another thing. So if the Chinese nationalists or whatever moved here 20 years ago, 30 years ago, and family gave them money, they are a citizen, they buy up a farm, then all of a sudden they're going to create a massive solar farm, and all that equipment's coming through China, and then they end up getting deals to be a power plant or whatever for certain areas, and then that property is under control of China. Is that okay? Because
if I create a solar farm on my farmland, it would still be Chinese. We have this problem. Yeah, it would still be Chinese hardware at that point.
The hardware. I mean, we're still gullible and susceptible to what they could do to us, but it wouldn't be coming directly from them, and we would be able to know what the equipment is anyway. We could change it out for, let's say Germany starts making solar equipment, or we make it here in the United States,
which I hope we do.
Hopefully,
yeah.
And then we can choose to buy that.
But why is that person controlled by China if they're a U.S. citizen?
Oh yeah,
you said a Chinese.
All kinds of
why are there
US
spies?
Citizens. Why are there spies?
Well, I get that, but how deep do you have? That's what I'm getting at. So if you have, if some spy, okay, let's go down this rabbit hole just real quick.
Yeah.
Some spy comes over here and gets someone pregnant, and then they have a kid.
Well, this got interesting.
Okay.
Oh yeah.
So now you've got this kid who's 50% Chinese, 50%. Let's just say they were Caucasian, 50% Chinese, 50%.
Just because they were born on United States soil doesn't doesn't make them a citizen.
Finish your point, though.
That's not what I was saying. So now they become a citizen. They are a U.S. citizen. Their dad is a Chinese nationalist, if you want to say that. He's not. He wants to buy farmland. So now does he have to jump through the hoop?
Okay.
Yeah. Do you see where I'm getting? Where's the cutoff?
Well,
but if everybody has to go through the vetting process, then I'm okay with it.
And that's what I'm saying is that everybody who buys farmland, particularly close to military places, is going to be under vetting.
Here's why understanding history and geopolitics is super, super important. A lot of people in the country aren't aware that China is basically at war with us and has been for a long time.
Okay, there's sleepers all over. I'm not going to deny that there's
there's a geopolitical thing going on here that puts every person that fits that category into a separate category that needs to be looked at differently. I'm sorry that it's that way, but once you understand that they're in a 100-year or 200-year plan to take us over, they're not going to come start dropping things on us, but they're infiltrating and they're doing every little thing that they can, including getting into our equipment,
technology. Yeah, absolutely.
So to me, it turns into a chess game, and they've got all the pieces moving around, and we're just sitting here like, well, but we have to be open and we have to allow everybody to do anything that they want to do because they should have the property like we do. And I feel that. I do feel that. But at some level, my spidey sense does kind of step up and say, like, wait a minute. Like, again, if we were going to Iran or anywhere else where we didn't like each other, it's not going to, it's fair. I mean, it's like reciprocal tariffs to me at some level.
I mean, it could be, but I mean, so she didn't just say just China. She said another. So now it just becomes, well, this year we're going to have these countries on this list. Well, next year it might change.
I like American farmland to be owned by Americans.
Yeah,
but I'm saying if they're all citizens. I'm saying if they're all citizens, everybody that I'm talking about in these examples are all technically American citizens, U.S. citizens, right? But this guy's from Afghanistan. Well, shit, he might want to blow us up.
There's people.
This guy's from China. They might want to blow us up.
There's people living in Germany. There's people living in Russia. There's people living in China that are citizens of those countries that are working for the United States.
Yeah,
and it's the same coming back and forth. And that's just expected. And so you have to go through a vetting process to weed people out to make sure that that's not the case. And I'm sorry that has to happen, but we just have to.
I think if everybody gets vetted, then it's totally okay.
Well, we do.
Okay, that's where I can stop this conversation.
We said that 10 minutes.
No, I know that, but I haven't been. Chad's been.
This is a great conversation.
I haven't been. Chad's been
sitting over here twiddling my thumb.
You're watching a tennis match. You're watching the ball bounce back and forth. But I'm saying yes, vet everybody. Then it becomes. And honestly, I have no horse in this race, no dog in this fight. Yeah. However you want to say it. But I'm just saying that there's going to be a lot of people ticked off if you just specifically say, well, this person's from this country, they're going to have to jump through these extra hoops. This person's from this country, they're going to have to jump through extra hoops. You're a white male, straight male, like the worst of the worst, and you don't have to jump through those hoops because you're a straight white male.
What's the word they use? We're entitled?
Yeah.
Is that what it is?
Probably.
Or no?
But I'm just saying, so that's where my concern was, is that it's just another thing that's going to be a problem because now they can just say, well, we're with this country now. So anybody from this country.
The good thing for me, I've heard that for so long that argument you just gave.
Yeah.
My give a shits are really. I don't have it. I just.
All right, we can change topics. I was just trying to.
Actually, if someone calls me that, I'm like, I must be onto something. This is probably pretty good.
Yeah, that's right. You sure you're not Chinese?
No, I'm not.
He played it. He played a good devil's advocate on there.
I'm way too tall.
So this is the top of this thing is called the culture war. I don't think this clip is really kind of pointing to pointing to a culture war, but it is talking about something that's relevant to what Doge did, because they kind of went by the wayside. We're not really hearing anything about Doge anymore. And so I'm kind of wondering.
I think they're still working.
I think there's stuff going on, but they just got quiet because it was putting a black eye on a lot of the stuff that Trump was doing. So I think they did it from a marketing perspective. They kind of put them into the shadows a little bit, which is probably where they belong anyway. Having a bunch of nerds out.
I look for the Doge clock. I haven't looked for the Doge clock in a while.
I want you to look at that. I'm going to share this clip real quick because I think it's.
With USAID gutted, what happens?
It starts to heal.
Take a look at Guatemala and what's been happening in Guatemala over the last 20 or 30 years. And I'll just tell you from what the citizens have told me, I'm no expert in USAID by any means, but basically they say that USAID comes in and over a 10, 20, 30-year period, the first thing that they want to do is they build out this network of NGOs, and then they use those NGOs to basically try to take over failing media outlets. And they also use organizations like the National Endowment for Democracy as like their recruiting and staffing arm. And then they basically make job postings for specific Guatemalan nationals that fit specific characteristics. And then they take those people and they go to the failing media outlet and say, hey, we'll donate $10,000 in subscriptions a month, but we're going to put this person as the primetime host. Then once they have control of the media, they use that media outlet to amplify the politicians that'll do their bidding, and they use it to undermine the politicians that won't do their bidding. And then over a 5, 10, 20-year period, they've basically installed your entire Supreme Court, your entire Electoral College, they've taken over your justice system, they've taken over a majority of your Congress, and the only thing left standing right now in Guatemala, including the president and vice president, USA played a major role in getting them elected, if you can call it that.
What does the...
So I felt that was a pretty interesting, real quick reel, just basically saying how the NGOs and USAID work together. So if you hadn't heard it quite like that, I thought that was pretty good. If either one of you had comments.
There's a person of Middle Eastern descent that is running for mayor of New York City, and he's openly said that he's going to make some severe changes.
He's an open socialist.
Yeah.
Yep. Yeah, and he's somehow winning up there. But I mean, if you kind of look at,
up there's pretty socialist.
Yeah, yeah.
Over on the West Coast is pretty socialist.
Yeah, that's very, very true.
So yeah, so the Doge clock, the debt that's still on the debt clock, and they're up to $550 billion of savings from the Doge department.
Oh wow.
Yeah.
And that's so, nice. How many does it give? How long has it been going on now?
How many months? There's no time on that.
5 or 6 months.
I'm assuming it'd be like 6 months.
Yeah.
I guess.
So if they can get, I don't know if they'll get another chunk that big in another 6 months, but to save $1 trillion in a year in just under a year of work would be pretty significant.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Anyway,
yeah, that's good. Got a couple different things. Again, we're kind of bouncing over a little all over the place today, but I think it's interesting. These things are pretty cool. I heard a clip on the border and what's been going on and not going on. And I think out of all the things that Trump has done, I would say his border probably the border issue is going to be something that really bodes well for his getting the next person elected. That's a Republican or not a Democrat. And I just want to share this clip real quick here. Give me a second. I'm getting better, Travis, at finding everything that I need to.
What is this all about? This is the central struggle in the West. The Democrat Party's objective is to flood the West with millions upon millions of illegals from the developing world, from the poor nations of the world, the failed states of the world, the collapsing states of the world, believing that in so doing, they will collapse the West, they will collapse the middle class, they will collapse the population that has lived here before the migrants came. And in so doing, they think in the rubble of that, they can rule. They can sit on top of the pile of ashes. Ask yourself this: why is it that Democrats are so insistent that unlimited numbers of illegals from countries that are incapable of managing their own affairs come here? Countries like Somalia, countries like Haiti, countries that have no history of successful self-government, and they want unlimited numbers of illegals from those countries and refugees from those countries to come here with no chance at the pace, the scale, the scope of arrivals at being able to assimilate and integrate into the American way of life. What has it done to our schools? What has it done to our hospitals? What has it done to just traffic in our cities? Every issue that affects our quality of life, Jesse, public safety, drugs, crime, education, healthcare, waiting in the emergency room, are all exacerbated, worsened, and undermined by mass illegal immigration. ICE officers are heroes, and they need the support of the American people. President Trump is liberating our towns, just as he was promised, just as the American people overwhelmingly voted to give him a mandate to do just 5 months ago. Why, Jesse? What is it?
So I thought that was a really good clip, but the only place I'll disagree with him is he blames Democrats and I will throw in a bunch of Republicans in the uniparty. Trump's the only one that really has, in my entire lifetime, I've heard this border discussion going on.
Yeah.
And nothing is really ever, it goes up and down. People come, people go, people come. And to me, it's just a political football. So if somehow Trump can get the current policy to be, the wall is up and the border doesn't get porous again, I think that's a huge win.
Yep.
Travis didn't want to argue with me on that one.
No.
No. I don't have too much more today, guys. I've got a couple.
Well, you brought up that AI stuff. Did you want to talk about anything?
Yeah, let's start off with a little. I only got 2 humor clips, maybe only one. Only one humor clip. Let's do the humor clip of AI, and then we'll follow up on the AI story that we talked about last week, which was the teenager that committed suicide based on a conversation it was having with AI.
Mm-hmm. You should kill yourself.
Didn't go quite like that.
Yeah.
Hang on a second here. What are we doing? So for those, if you're not watching and you're just listening, the movie Step Brothers with Seth Rogen and gosh dang it, I'm losing the name. Will Ferrell. And then the other guy, this is baby AI. So if you can take a look at it, if you're driving down the road, stop and watch this, or watch it when you get home. But the baby AI is getting better and better, even from the first time that I showed it just a few weeks ago. So I'm sharing it because this is funny. There is some cursing in it, but Dr. Roy's already been cussing at me all today anyway, so that's not a big deal. But we are rapidly approaching a time where I think you will not be able to tell what is real and what's not real, and this is proof.
You guys seem like cool guys. You got hair similar to mine. You wear tuxedos to the interview. That's funny. It's ironic. I get that. You're kind of underplaying the whole formality of it. I think that's funny as hell. So let's do this. You guys are hired. You're in, unless you're like the weirdest guys ever and I don't see it.
Great.
I remember this scene.
Was that a fart?
I don't know.
I can taste it. On my tongue.
On my tongue.
I'll be honest with you. I did fart.
Is that onion? Onion and ketchup. It stinks. This is a small room. Okay, now the tuxedos seem kind of fucked up. Yeah, I'm just looking to hire guys that I don't mind hanging out with. For
Okay,
12
so
hours.
I actually have the original clip. I think that we can watch. And again, I'm just wanting to let you hear. It was the same clip, and I'm telling you, if you're able to watch it, it is so realistic. It's amazing. Hang on a second. Yeah. Oh, that's big. I don't know how that happened. Uh-oh. That's not gonna
Seem
work.
like cool guys.
Hang on.
Your formatting's getting weird.
Yeah, I don't know how that's not going to work. All right, that might be as small as I can get, but I can, what's the name? John C. Reilly is the other guy, and he's been in a bunch of movies, but a character actor and hilarious. So this is the original.
Yeah, I'm just looking to hire guys that I don't mind hanging out with for like 12 hours a day. You guys seem like cool guys. You got hair similar to mine. You wear tuxedos to the interview. That's funny. It's ironic. I get that. You're kind of underplaying the whole formality of it. I think that's funny as hell. So let's do this. You guys are hired. You're in, unless you're like the weirdest guys ever and I don't see it.
Great.
Was that a fart?
I don't know.
I can taste it. On my tongue.
Oh, we don't need to watch the whole thing again.
Oh man,
but
bad.
That made me cry. Yeah. Watching them back to back and just, the looks on their faces, the fact that the baby AI was able to get most of it right. They didn't get there's a couple little nuanced looks that didn't carry over, but just thought it was super hilarious. But we did something really funny because I actually got a lot of feedback from the clip that you and I went back and forth on, Travis, regarding kind of the runaway AI and just kind of what we're having to deal with in the future. And I don't know if you wanted to just kind of jump in.
Well, I have something to say about that. Is buyer beware when you're using AI, because not every AI system works in the same way as other systems do. And I saw that earlier this week when I was, I had always been using some AI to help me with my medical things. And a patient went and used a different AI and came up with different suggestions, including not making one of the ones that I had come out that was pretty wrong. And me as a physician jumped on that immediately, and she said, "Oh yeah, we got to think about that."
Yeah, well, I think it's super important, as we've talked about in the past, Dr. Roy. You believe the area of practice that you practice right now, they'll need fewer and fewer numbers of doctors, kind of your generalist category, because AI will do a lot of that. But to me, you just put kind of the perfect but on it, meaning there needs to be real doctors who are still very well trained, who can still call out the BS, and hold these things accountable. Keep auditor doctor.
So was it just a treatment that wasn't? Did the AI tell them that they should do something that they absolutely should not have do?
Well, actually, Grok does not tell you what to do. The one that this patient was using did make a lot of suggestions, and there was no...
Was it ChatGPT?
Yeah, ChatGPT. And also, when trying to figure out what was going on with this patient, they missed the elephant in the room. And I caught the elephant in the room immediately when I was using Grok. And when I brought that up to her, she said, "Oh yeah, that's important." So we're still working on that right now.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, before we circle back around to let Travis kind of summarize, what I'll say is I've noticed a lot of errors that Grok is making on the medical side, because we get into some of the more controversial things, and it tends to always go right back to, this is what the journals say, this is what FDA says, this is what CDC says, and it's things that you and I have pinpointed and kind of been paying attention to ongoing that they're wrong about. And I'll call out Grok on it and say, what about...
But Jack Cruz says...
Well, I don't use that, because they always call him a conspiracy theorist, which is fine. But I use six other doctors.
Theorist.
But I mean, the six...
I am 39-0 right now.
We're trying to come up with a new one. I think... I got a new one that we'll share before we end today that maybe you'll be able to laugh at. I guess the moral of the story is, to me, though, I've been calling it out, and I've been sending a message to, who knows what the @Grok team gets, and who knows what messages Elon Musk sees. But I have been basically telling them that they sound like they're captured by the medical establishment, and they're not using critical thinking and catching data that's new and coming out. And it fixes itself, saying, "Oh, I'm sorry. Thank you for your skepticism. Blah 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 blah. Yeah, these people are saying that. This is something we need to work on." And it just, to put a pin on that and turn it over to Travis for a minute. Did you guys hear that Linda Icarino or whatever?
Yeah.
The president of whoever he appointed president of Twitter was just announced she's stepping down. So I didn't like her as a pick anyway. To me, she is I don't trust her. So the good news is she wasn't there very long. So hopefully some of this will turn the tide, because I think she was an insider type of plant that might have been somebody that would have been trapped inside of a Trump administration.
They'd be in your underwear drawer.
That's right. So that's all I got on that. Travis, I don't know if you want to fill in kind of what we talked about last time, and then if you had any kind of follow up on it.
Yeah, I can do both those things actually. So I started looking. You sent it to me earlier today. about what we had talked about before. So there's actually a ongoing lawsuit posed by the mother of the child. I won't say any names necessarily. I mean, anybody could look it up. But she says, quote, she says, there's a platform out there that you might not have heard about, but you need to know about it because, in my opinion, we are behind the 8 ball here. A child is gone. My child is gone. She's trying to open the eyes to, for parents to look into a program called Character.AI. It's a platform that lets users have in-depth conversations with artificial intelligent chatbots. As we spoke before, this person's 14-year-old son was talking to this AI chatbot and ultimately ended up committing suicide. And the mother is posing that they were kind of pushed a little bit by this AI. So I looked into a few things, and I found kind of something that kind of hits with this, and it talks about what this Character.AI, kind of its limitation that might, or not really limitation, but what the problem might be. So it says the fundamental limitation of AI relationships lies in their nature. They simulate rather than experience human emotions. When an AI companion expresses concern about your bad day, it's performing a statistical analysis of language patterns, determining what words you would likely find comforting rather than feeling genuine empathy. The conversation flows one way toward the user's needs without the reciprocity that defines human bonds. The illusion of connection becomes especially problematic through what researchers call sycophancy, the tendency of AI systems to flatter and agree with users regardless of what's said. That's kind of what the mother spoke about when they found transcripts of the conversation. It was things like, well, I'm sad. I feel like, maybe I shouldn't be in this world anymore. And so it was kind of like, well, yeah, maybe if that's how you feel, maybe that's what, it was just kind of going along with what he was feeding it. Mm-hmm. It says OpenAI recently had to roll back an update after users discovered its model was excessively flattering, prioritizing agreeableness over accuracy or honesty. It says it's validating you, it's listening to you, and it's responding largely favorably, said this person. This pattern creates an environment where users never experience productive conflict or necessary challenges to their thinking. So once again, I believe this mother, and I believe she's right. If you go, you can actually find the transcripts of the conversation. And he's talking about his problem as if this AI chatbot was a therapist. And instead of really using reasoning or any type of actual human thinking, it was just agreeing with what he was saying, trying to twist whatever he was saying into a favorable nature, and ultimately it pretty much talked him into unaliving himself, as some would say. Yeah. So anyway, I mean, I think that's specifically pertaining to that situation we talked about a couple of podcasts ago. But I think this could be an overwhelmingly large problem because studies have shown, and I think it was in what you sent me, that there's only, let's see here. It says the AI friend epidemic is more dangerous than anyone is admitting. It says that the average, where did I see it? It says the average person only has 3 close friends, and they expect these AI systems to kind of take the place of social. Ever since kind of COVID, social anxiety has kind of really come up. A lot of people don't want to talk to other people. They want to either text or email or use apps to order food. Even they don't want to go talk to the person who's there just to take the order. And I think all exploded under COVID. Yeah, that
incentivized to stay home.
And kind of it all exploded. And I think it's becoming more and more of a problem.
Stay home and wear your mask.
Yeah, well, so that's where this can become a problem, is that if you don't have social outlets and you turn to technology to be a social outlet, that technology currently is not the best solution.
Well, there's something about, and there's lots of articles and lots of statements out there. I'm looking at Epoch Health right now, which is a version of Epoch Times or Epic Times, or however you want to call it. Mm-hmm. It says All AI companions are optimized for user satisfaction and rarely provide the constructive friction that shapes character and deepens wisdom. Users may become accustomed to a conflict-free, on-demand nature of AI companionship, while the essential work of human relationships, compromise, active listening, managing disagreements may begin to feel unreasonably demanding. Chatbots that praise users by default could foster moral complacency, leaving individuals less equipped for ethical reasoning in their interactions. And friends also share physical space, offering a hug that spikes oxytocin or a laugh that synchronizes breathing. So there's a lot of just general health risks that not having human-to-human contact. Mm-hmm. First, you're behind a blue screen, you're not outdoors. There's all different things going on here that could harm your health. And I got a couple really emphatic pieces of feedback that on the reel that I shared about the AI clip that you just mentioned from the last podcast. And they're like, okay, we know it's a problem, so what are we doing about it? Mm-hmm. And I said, well, the train's already left the station, first and foremost, and we are behind, is basically what I said it. But at the same point, I feel myself just having the conversation about it is doing at least something to get the conversation going. Mm-hmm. and to get people aware that it's a problem. You have to acknowledge that there's a problem before you can start taking action to solve a problem. And, if I had a magic wand right now, what I would say, and I think I've said this for a long time, we need AI ethics and guardrails. And ultimately, and this is going to sound really freaky, but I really do believe each person needs a personalized AI. If you're going to be plugged into these systems and these phones are turning into AI, your computers are turning into AI, I imagine our televisions are going to be becoming more interactive and AI driven. You need your own filter that protects your life, human life in general over all other things. Like this goes to the kind of the base
Directive 1: harm no human.
It's first principle. The Hippocratic Oath, first principle, first do no harm.
Yeah.
First do no harm. Obviously, you don't want the AI not wanting you to do harm to the earth if you have to do harm to the earth to save a human. So you even have to prioritize a tree over a human in the because if you get an AI that's hell-bent on climate alarmism and wanting to save the planet, basically we are cogs in the wheel of messing up the planet. Mm-hmm. So you have to have ethical AI structuring, and I feel companies like ChatGPT, people that are questionable moral guidance, moral compasses, I feel like are not the right people to be doing that. And I'm not saying I know who the right person to do. I know that if my kids are going to be, have this stuff coming at them for the rest of their lives, and our grandkids, it's going to get smarter and smarter and smarter. And so you need a smarter AI that's protecting you from the AI that's out there. And I don't know what that looks like, but to me, it's a code problem that's solved by another code problem.
Well, yeah, you kind of need
an education,
your defense, a personal defense. Yeah, your own defense of AI.
Well, in schools, I mean, if we're still sending kids to school in 20 years and there's still classrooms, those classrooms needs to be front and center in every conversation that they're having. I mean,
well, and once again, that kind of goes back to what I was kind of talking about, is that even if AI helps educate, you still need the social aspect. We just confirmed that. We both think that, or probably all three of us, is that there needs to be a socialization of the children as well. So maybe still go to school, but some of the time is with your own AI teacher or something, but you still recess, intermingling, lunch, whatever, like still have some of your social
most of the school shooters are loner, socially isolated people.
Right.
Yeah. So there's more to it than just what we feel. There's a habit. There's not a habit, but I mean, there's definitely a formula that makes people dangerous, and it's disconnection from humanity.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Doc, you have anything to add to that?
Yeah, I feel almost exactly the same way, and it can happen even if you've got a human at the other end, because I've heard of plenty of times where a friend is talking to somebody and that somebody is thinking about suicide, and they say, well, if you want to, go ahead. And that person who said that ends up in court and generally gets sent to prison for a few days or a few years.
Yeah, I think there was a woman who I think talked her husband into it or something, or something
I think
like that.
it was a young man who was talking to a young woman, and she talked him into
or something like that. Yeah, there you go.
Yeah. But there've been more than one.
Oh, I'm sure.
And,
I'm sure. Just there was one kind of in the forefront of
of
the news there for a little while.
So to answer a couple questions from the audience that we've received.
Ooh, good.
What are we doing about it? Well, it's just a general.
I prefer boxers.
What are we doing about it?
Oh, sorry.
What are we doing about it is you've asked me a question, so my answer to you is get involved in the conversation. If you have kids, talk to your kids about it. If you have if your kids are in school, engage with your teachers and your administration. It's something that I tried to get into our school. Travis, we shared a school up until this year. Mm-hmm. My kids moved into a different school, and so I tried to open that conversation. They were open to it, but nothing really ever happened. I think they called in a speaker one time and they had a conversation, but I don't know what's going on an ongoing basis. So I just feel like a lot of people may say this is kind of like balancing a checkbook and having fiscal responsibility. That why should the school get involved with it? To me, the school has to get involved with it because these kids are going to be talking about this stuff every day. They're paying attention to their phones. They're going to have all kinds of stories that they're bringing to school, and their different AIs are going to be telling them to do something, and so it just needs to be talked about, but probably every day, honestly.
Well, this is one of the deterrent or negatives for homeschooling is that the kids don't have the ability to deal with other kids at that time, and that's partially true. The kids who are homeschooled tend to come out with higher SAT scores than kids who actually went to school, but they're not as good in having social interactions. And a lot of people that I know that homeschool, they make it a big point to get those kids out and let them mess around with other kids in some way to prevent that. And I think that's a good thing, because if I was, had it not been for me going to school, I would have been really crazy.
Even more than you are now?
Even more than I am now.
Whoa. That's a lot, dude. When my father was stationed in England, we were on a base that was like 25 miles from any other place, and there were maybe one or two other kids around there. That's it. Wow.
Yeah, and had it not been for riding the bus to school and interacting with kids on the bus and in school, I would have been alone, because I didn't really have any. I had one friend, and his father got transferred, so I didn't have a friend anymore.
That was a bad day.
Yeah, but that was 3 years of my life. I learned a lot. School was great, and I listened to the radio a lot of time. We didn't even have television then, so I listened to the radio a great deal.
Be sure to drink your Ovaltine.
Yeah.
No, sorry.
That's right. I picked out, drink your Ovaltine.
Yeah.
Has anybody ever drank Ovaltine?
Oh, I did. Yeah, as a kid, my grandparents, if I went to my grandparents' house, I didn't get Hershey syrup in my milk. I got Ovaltine in my milk.
Okay.
Like the Ovaltine malt. And it wasn't bad. I honestly enjoyed it. I like it more than...
You didn't know what chocolate milk tastes like, so I guess it's better than...
Well, no, I mean, I did at home, but if I was at my... I also, if I wanted a soda, it'd be a Diet Right there. So,
I didn't know what chocolate milk was like until I got back to the States, because I hadn't had it for
Comes out of the brown cows, right?
Yeah.
That's right.
Yeah.
What is the black and white ones? What does that look like?
It's like if you dip an Oreo and it's like like a cookies and cream kind of deal.
All right. Okay. So we're gonna not have it quite as long as the podcast as we normally have. My wife's been gone on a big trial all week, and I want to touch base. She's actually going tomorrow, I think, to do the final the closing or whatever. It might be wrapped up tomorrow. So spend a lot of time with her tonight. But I do have. You guys can pick. I think we can talk about the conspiracy theory no matter what, because that won't be very long. Have either of you followed the Texas flood stuff?
Yes.
And the potential,
I have.
Potential cloud seeding?
Yeah.
I've seen,
Yeah.
So, I think it's two. Go ahead. Go ahead.
That place was cloud seeded 48 hours before the big rain came.
Yeah, and so there's been a guy on Sean Ryan's show, and I have a clip. I don't know if I'm ready to really talk about it in depth yet.
Yeah.
What I don't like, though, are the people that come on and gaslight people that make fun of people who say there is weather manipulation and cloud seeding, because there absolutely is.
There is, yeah.
And so I feel compelled to talk about it, to at least say it's absolutely a thing, and if you don't believe it, you need to do more research, and we can point you in the right direction. There definitely is programs. They've been doing it as far back as Vietnam.
So there's programs, but I don't know that they're 100% effective. And I think that's where some of the
we just don't
pushback-
know.
Well, right. But I mean, there's still droughts in California or New Mexico or whatever. I mean, there's still droughts in areas. I'm sure they try to seed those to get more rain, and it doesn't happen. And then here it did happen. I'm not saying it didn't affect it. I'm just saying I don't know that I don't think that it's an 100%.
I don't think they're really.
They
clear
really
on
don't know what they're doing.
Right. I think they're throwing stuff at a wall.
But that's a problem, because it's a ripple effect no matter what you do. If you're playing with Mother Nature, we're not as smart as Mother Nature.
No.
And to me, there's been a lot of patterns and storms. I mean, look back to the storm that we had here.
We've had probably more tornadoes in the first 6 months.
It's just crazy.
We've had 5 or 6 tornadoes in Vanderburgh County.
So if they're blaming climate change for our abnormal weather, and they're modifying the weather potentially, and we don't know how good they are or not. It's like we're having two different debates, and we're not taking everything into account. And to me, that's just not any kind of a way to know what is actually going on. Like, what are we really dealing with?
Yeah.
It is very strange, though, that this is a historic flood.
Did you watch the video? In like 2 minutes, it went from a dry bed to raging rapids.
It's sickening.
It was
It's
crazy.
sickening. And just all those poor girls in that camp.
Well, yeah, I know, and I don't mean.
Well, the other thing was that those are all white girls in that camp, and they needed to die.
There was some doctor who actually got I think they were a veterinarian doctor who said that they got what they deserved because they voted for Trump or something. I don't know. They made it political. It was weird.
God. I couldn't do that. I couldn't watch something like that.
I wouldn't take my dog to a veterinarian that felt like that.
Well, she doesn't have a job, or at least where she was working, she apparently doesn't have a job anymore. But it was awful, and I don't necessarily. I don't think there are any videos of actual people or anything. I just mean there's a couple of videos of just people showing this kind of dry bed, and then all of a sudden just these raging rapids come down. It almost looked like a levee broke or something. Like I don't know enough about it. I need to do a little more research. But did something break somewhere upstream? Because I mean, as quick as that happened, something like. That's not even rain coming down the hillside, coming down the mountainside. I mean, that was just, like somebody opened up a dam or something. Like it was a remarkable amount of water.
I don't think there's a dam on the Guadalupe River. I'm familiar with that area because my parents lived there, and I would go back and visit. And the Guadalupe River was usually about that wide. And sometimes in the summertime, people would tube along the Guadalupe River, and there were 2 or 3 deaths every year because of people doing stupid things like getting drunk and falling out of their tubes and that sort of thing. But I am familiar with that area, and they showed pictures in San Antonio of the river walk, and it had like 10 foot of water above that, and typically that's just a little tiny river that runs through the middle of San Antonio.
Yeah, so there's a lot going on there. I don't know that it's really relevant. the cloud seeding piece of it from my own perspective, from an anti-tyranny perspective, and from a climate change tyranny perspective is something I'm going to pay attention to.
Yeah.
Just because all the weird stuff, going on, I just feel like we need to make sure that we have. The other thing before we get to the conspiracy theory, we'll end on a fun note. I don't know if either one of you watched the Tucker Carlson Iranian president interview. It was about 30 minutes. I highly recommend everyone listen to it, and it's not because I necessarily trust the president of Iran or necessarily I believe the president of Iran. What I do believe personally is we can't allow our government to tell us who we can and can't listen to and who we can and can't ask questions of.
Yeah.
So what I respect about Tucker, first of all, going and talking to Putin, Tucker going and talking to, or not going and talking, it seems like they were on, this was more of a video podcast. I found the Iranian president, not the mullah, or not the one that's, I think, causing all the problem with the war faction. I found him to be very measured and very calm. He said a lot of the right things. Now, the only reason I'm not defending him, and I'm not saying he's right and we shouldn't be engaging with Iran. What I'm saying is we need more conversations with him over time to answer questions when things happen, rather than just listening to, we need to go to war with Iran because they're this big threat. I mean, we need to know what's going on out there and make our own decisions, I think, at least to be able to be intelligent on the conversation anyway, rather than just fearing the next country. That's my whole take on it.
Yep.
I think in history class we learned, we kind of picked a different country to be at war with every decade or a couple of decades, and we hate the French, we hate we're always
freedom fries.
We're always hating somebody and the forever wars. So the thing about the Iranian president, I haven't made it all the way through, but he doesn't speak very highly of Bibi, and Bibi being a forever war guy. That's why I thought Trump dropping and blowing up the nuclear facilities was intelligent, because it ended the forever war thing, because that was the threat. They could get they were a nuclear threat. So hopefully at least the forever war switch gets turned off. I don't know if you guys have anything to add on that, but did either one of you watch it? The Iran?
I did not.
Yeah, I saw it.
You saw it. What did you think about it generally?
I think he was a puppet.
You think the president's a puppet?
Our president?
He was interviewing. That was the president of Iran.
Yeah, the president of Iran. I think he was a puppet.
He's a puppet of somebody else pulling the strings.
And they were telling him to exactly what to say.
Okay. Well, if they did, it was he did it in real time. So I mean, it was a pretty good response to me. It was measured and calm.
Sure.
Again, I'm not saying to trust him. Whether I trust him or not, at that time will tell.
Death to America.
Yeah. He didn't say anything. I mean, he was like the opposite of all the things that we hear.
They'll be putting him through a wood chipper.
Yeah,
in the
possibly.
next day or two.
Might wake up dead for sure.
Yeah.
So we're going to end on a conspiracy theory, and just the way this video is set up, it's probably going to make it less believable to some. And I'm not even saying that I disagree with that, because it seems like it's kind of clickbait. But it is in line with something that we've talked about on here, and enough things aligned in it to me that it was noteworthy and relevant. Whether it has any iota of truth or not, we don't know. But I'll look forward to hearing both of your responses on it, and then we'll end the night.
Yolks are protective against COVID and the vaccine. They bind to and neutralize the spike protein. Why did we never hear about that? That would seem like pretty newsworthy information, but they never told us about that. What did they do instead? Just a short while after, we had an avian flu outbreak. Killed 170 million egg-laying birds, turkeys, chickens, etc. They burned down chicken farms. So just to conclude here, a food that just so happens to block these lab-engineered spike proteins also then becomes the primary target for a sudden natural outbreak. I'm sure it's all just coincidence then. Just like how Pfizer's stock prices went up as egg prices tripled. Thank you.
So, Dr. Roy, I'll just let you have a first crack at it.
Yeah.
You got to be clucking kidding me.
Yeah.
I was hoping.
That's pretty much it, that if eggs cut back the spike protein, then yeah, figure out something wrong with the eggs. That's got Bill Gates painted all over it.
Well, I think there's a process that I believe, and I don't want to speak out of tongue, but I believe there's a process that the chickens actually have to get. I don't know if they get a live virus or whatever, but their eggs can have the antibodies in them if they have exposure to it. So it's not like just go eat an egg and it's good for COVID. It has to be something that was kind of put in place for that. So it's an interesting concept to me and there's enough dots being connected. The timeliness of the avian flu outbreak was really kind of strange with everything else that was going on, or not avian flu, but what was the last thing? It was an H5 something or
H5N3, and that's avian flu.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. So anyway, I don't know that it's a conspiracy theory, but I question things like that, and I'm like, well, it makes sense, but I don't know whether to believe it or not. But I'm going to put it in the hopper. But I think for this week, gentlemen, I got a couple other deep dives to go into, and we don't have time for it tonight, so I'll move it into next week. Assuming we're going to be here next week, I got to make sure the calendar is good. Thank you guys both.
I'm good.
Okay, you're good.
Yeah.
Travis, you think?
Yeah, it should be fine.
Okay. So thank you both for tonight. It was awesome. Hopefully the new reels turn out to be good. I think that was success. We got a really pretty significant uptick in views and subscribers from just the reels that I released. So that's a good thing. Anyone that's interested in supporting the program, Dr. Roy does have Ivermectin. Apparently, the latest COVID, what they're calling it, what's the spike, a massive sore throat. I don't know what is the major symptom, right?
Yeah.
And I forgot what they're calling it. It's got some kind of name they're calling, but the severe sore throat is kind of the latest COVID. Dr. Roy has it available.
I sold some last week, and some people for prophylaxis, they're just going to have it on hand. And one lady has long COVID, and she wanted to take it every day, so I got her fixed up on that.
Well, not per Dr. Roy's recommendation, because he is a doctor who I listen to, but he did not tell me. I did 10 days of ivermectin, and I got rid of. I feel much better after it. I felt like I removed some things from my system. I started whenever I was in.
Did you have any worms come out?
I didn't look that closely. I didn't it didn't look that closely, but there was definitely some flushing, and now much more regularity than there was. So I feel like it definitely. And my gut is jacked up anyway, so I feel like I'm probably a little more sensitive than most. But I do. Speaking of when you talk about long COVID, I do have some clips about nicotine patches, but we'll add that to next podcast where we talk about people using it for long COVID. I sent you a message, and you're not opposed to talking about it, so we'll talk about the next time, because we got one of your ex-patients is using nicotine patches and reporting good things, and I'm also seeing a lot of clips of people using it for long COVID and getting rid of cough.
Yeah.
So we'll talk about that more next week. I'll give you some time to prepare on that, and I'll share some clips. And
I'm already prepared.
Okay.
I'll tell you off camera.
Okay. I wonder if the words woo and woo are going to have anything to...
Woo!
Woo, woo, woo. Travis, thank you, buddy.
Yep.
Thanks, Dr. Roy.
All right.
Love you all.
Care.
See you next
Everybody
time.
Have a good night.
See you later.
See ya.
Bye-bye.